to my presentation. Today we'll be talking about the relationship between cell phone use and stress. Stress is defined as the degree to which you feel overwhelmed or unable to cope as a result of pressures that are unimaginable. Studies from Stress in America 2020 revealed that 90% of college students ages 18 through 23 reported education as a significant source of stress. Stress can include long and short-term effects. Individuals experiencing stress can experience problems with their digestive, cardiovascular, sleep, and reproductive systems. Cell phone use in our world. Amongst U.S. teenagers, 95% have reported having access to smartphones, and 45% say they are constantly using the internet. Research has shown that college-age students in the United States typically spend 8 to 10 hours per day using a smartphone. There are consequences to excessive screen time. These consequences include avoiding real-life interactions. 4 in 10 of teen cell phone users reported using their phones to often avoid social interaction. There are also differences in genders. Teen girls have reported higher rates of this social avoidance tactic at 54%, as compared to 31% of boys. Its relevance to family studies. This study allows professionals to understand the effects of excessive phone use and its effect on stress. Deeming this as a factor in causing stress within college students allows professionals to implement resources and knowledge for preventative measures. This can include informational campus events, online assessments, and guides. It also examines how these negative effects can induce the long and short-term effects of stress. Importance to family studies. Causality. Finding the effects of causal issues are some of the most difficult tasks for researchers. It forces researchers to understand how certain behaviors are caused. Causality can only be concluded when 3 things are happening. The independent variable and dependent variable have a statistical association. The independent variable must occur prior in time to the dependent variable, and the relationship between the independent variable and dependent variable cannot be spurious. Spurious meaning the relationship cannot disappear when the effects are taken into account. Theory. The relationship between cell phone use and stress can be explained by social interaction theory. There is an overarching theme. The overarching theme of this theory explains how people have the ability to learn about meaning through their social interactions. It also suggests the more important the role is to us, the more time will be invested into the role. It assumes that individuals can build meaning through communication. Self-concept is a motivation for behavior, and there is a special relationship between individual and society. The strengths. It highlights the relationship between the meaning of symbols and a person's behaviors. It also has weaknesses. The theory can have confusing concepts that are often difficult to define and test. Literature review. In this review, I reviewed 4 articles that related to phone use and stress levels. The first article. They look for interactions between different types of motivation and psychosocial well-being factors in facilitating problematic smartphone use. They analyzed the role of perceived stress on the relationship between entertainment and problematic smartphone use. They found that perceived stress moderates the relationship between entertainment motivation and problematic smartphone use. They also found that perceived stress moderated the relationship between entertainment motivation and problematic use among users that scored low on problematic smartphone use. The second article. This article used a cross-sectional research design to analyze how students allocate their time to social interaction and personal behaviors related to dating, stress, and overall satisfaction with life. They found that the time spent in nonverbal social interactions was negatively related to students' life satisfaction. They also found that being in a relationship and talking to people on the phone were positively related to student success. It goes on to find that students who engage in asynchronous communication, like text and social networking, were less likely to be in romantic relationships and less likely to have a high life satisfaction compared to those who did spend their time in synchronous communication and romantic relationships. The study also found that phone use was equal to positive life satisfaction, but it was also equal to positive stress levels. This could be due to the fact that students who use synchronous communication, they used it to cope with the pressure of college and staying socially engaged. A study matched their findings and showed that people with large social networks, measured by Facebook friends, resulted in higher stress and higher incidence of upper respiratory infections. The next article, problematic internet and mobile phone use. This article focused on maladaptive uses of the internet and cell phones and its correlation with psychological distress and mental disorder. They hypothesized that maladaptive use of internet was related to psychological distress. They also found that addiction was happening within 48% of the students. They found that students with a bachelor's degree had higher levels of addiction. In our study, there were 258 participants. The study was anonymous, non-probability convenience sampling. It was a cross-sectional study, and we used the Cohen Perceived Stress Scale, PSS-10, and we wanted to know how often students use their phone over the course of the day. It resulted in the IBM SPSS-20 analyzing the data. The independent variable was cell phone use, and the range of values are from 1 to 6. The dependent variable is stress, and the range of values is from 10 to 50. According to Pearson correlation, statistical evidence was found. Therefore, cell phone use was related to stress in college students in this analysis. There was also a weak positive association found between cell phone use and stress. As cell phone use increased, stress increased. The articles pinpointed how students were using their phones inappropriately. Many participants in the study used their phones for non-essential activities. These actions increased their stress rate and had a negative impact on other aspects of their life. While there were differences between gender, social status, and economic status, studies revealed that students alike struggle with stress constantly and revealed phones have an impact on their stress level. While there was a correlation between the two, our study did not reveal an astronomical difference between cell phone use and stress. There were some weaknesses to the study. In future studies, there should be 2 reliable and valid measures in a longitudinal study. Some weaknesses included a lack of diversity among participants. We did not observe change over time. It was not randomly sampled, and there was a history threat to validity. Strengths. There was a large sample size. Design was anonymous, and we limited bias. Sampling method was fast, affordable, and easy, and the PSS-10 scale was reliable and valid. Here are a list of references that were used throughout researching.